was asked about this panorama and how I went about stitching it. So I'm just going to run you through the process of how I actually made this panorama. I'll open Lightroom, and here in Lightroom we actually have all the raw files. From left to right, so 1, 2, just reset that one, 3, actually this is the way, I'll just reset those as we go along. I think there was 8 files in total. So we were standing probably here looking out into this scene, and I wanted to get the bigger picture, and I just didn't want to go shooting say like this particular image, which I can shoot in my Fuji. It's a 65-24 crop, so instead it would be quite easy to take an image like this with wide angle, but I prefer to shoot a series of images. I shoot them vertical because it gives me you know, I can crop into them after if I want to. So I shot a series of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 images. The easy thing to do, so what we'll do is we'll just edit the first image, I think. So we'll actually edit the last image because that's the brightest one. So I'm going to just edit this image, and I'm going to sync the other images then with the same edit. So this is probably the first step. Just bring back the highlights there. I know I'm actually not going to include that part of the sun now in the final edit. The final edit has it cut out. So yeah. So we select all the images and just go sync, and that should sync all those adjustments. Now the easiest thing what you can do is Lightroom does have a merge to panorama option, photo merge to panorama. I don't use that because this was taken at 35mm, probably around 28mm full frame, so it's 35mm on medium format, and it's probably too wide, and I didn't have my Panorama rail set up, so my there probably would be a problem with parallax. So instead I use software here called PTGUI, and what I have done is I have already exported those images. So if we go back down to Lightroom, we'll just export them again. So export the 6 images, right click, export, export the 6 images to the desktop, and we're going to call it a Cellbost Pano, and I'm going to export the images, and I'm exporting them out 16 bits, and they're coming out as TIFFs. So we'll export 6 of those. It's actually 9 files actually. 1, 2, okay. So we'll go to our panorama, PTGUI, we'll load the images, and we'll just use them from here actually. So one, it's a different one. Here. We'll load all the images. Open. It's actually these are different images, but that's the concept. So what we will, this is PTGUI, so we'll just, these are the source images, 1 to 8. It detects that it was a 35mm 0.8 crop, so that is the Fuji GFX, we'll go align images. It then brings me to this window, and the great thing about PT GUI is it allows me to pull and push and lift and tilt, so I can get the perspective that I'm looking for. So it needs to be pushed up a little bit. Here I'm watching the horizon line. I'm also feeling that it's tilting slightly down to the right, so if I right click here and lift it up that way, so I'm watching that horizon line all the ways across. And again, I can pull and push. This is the great thing about PT GUI. I can go left or right. There are different formats here. I'm finding that this one here is working pretty good for me, the projection, cylindrical projection. And so what we will do, I just tilt it up or down there. That's the line there I'm looking for. If I was to put this into Lightroom, I'd probably end up with something like that. And there's no adjustment, and you just have to take what you get. So again, that looks pretty good. That line through. So now I can also change the projection slightly here by shrinking it down. What we'll do is we'll pull and push these sliders. I can make it fill the frame. So I'm going to make it fill the frame. As you can see here now, my poles are straight. Pole there is straight. I'm going to push it out. This is basically scaling it, and it gives me less work to do in Photoshop after. Okay, pretty happy with that. Now you just have to close this, actually, funnily enough. And I'm going to go create panorama. Create panorama, output it as a TIFF, 16-bit per channel. Hit OK, and just create panorama. Output file already exists, so yeah, go OK. So that's going to my panorama folder on the desktop. I will open Photoshop. We'll go File, Open. This software works pretty fast. And we will go to Panos, and it should be in there. Number 2. Just to find it. And we'll go with this one. Hit open. I don't know what that is. So there's my panorama. Command and minus. Command and Z for undo. Okay. Command and plus just to view it a bit bigger. So because we've made a panorama, you can zoom in and you have much more detail, and you know, you can literally cut pictures out of this. That's the beauty of it. You know, you can go in there and you have so much detail inside it. So command and minus. So what I'm going to do just for the time being is I'm actually going to crop it, I think 16:9. And we're just going to crop it 16:9 just like that. We don't want that bright part. And we hit OK. So just for a little edit, I am just going to fill in the corner here. I'm just going to select that. Command Z. So it's a layer, so we need to flatten the layer before we do anything. Just fill that corner. Command and D to deselect. Okay, so I think I didn't do a whole pile to this image earlier, but I do know that I lifted the midtones. So we'll create a curve with the midtone. Now I use the panel, so I'm going to continue using the panel. So curves, I can get a curve from down here. It's also up here on the TK panel, so that's the curve. We'll just create a curve, and we will just, I want the image nice and bright because, you know, it is nice and bright over here. So I want to lift it, you know, that's the way it was. We'll add a little bit of contrast back in again, but I generally just want to lift the whole thing. Just as we're going, we'll flatten as we're going. And now I'm going to add some contrast back into the shadows. So we'll select the shadows. So the shadows are 1 to 6 on the left hand side. So number 1 is all the shadows. Number 2 is less of the shadows. So anything that's white really is going to be affected. And we'll hit OK, and we're just going to do levels there. And we're basically just adjusting the white point and the black point, and just adding a little bit of contrast. It's mostly midtones actually, and I think that'll do. You know, that just gives a nice little bit of pop. I like the way this is bright here because that's the way the sun was coming in. And we're going to adjust the midtones. Same way, the midtones are down here, 1 to 3. And if we look at the histogram, it's selecting the midtones. If I was to go number 2, it's a narrower selection. Number 1, it's a very small selection. So we're going to go number 3. And we will go with the levels adjustment. And we'll just do a very small adjustment there, and that just adds a little bit of color. And we'll flatten. I'm going to actually go into I might just adjust the black point actually. It's just a little too black for me there. I'm going to a curve. Just take out the deep blacks. Flatten. And I think I did use Nick Viveza just for a little bit of structure. So we're going to go into filter, Nick Viveza, and I give it a little bit of structure just here. That does just make it just sharp, like a mid-tone contrast really. Just gives it a little bit more definition. We'll hit apply, and I also think I went in and just saturated the yellow a little bit, possibly. It's a big file. Flatten. We'll go into camera raw, and we can go into the camera raw off the panel here. And something I always check actually is I always check the white balance, so it's always just do an auto, and that's too warm, you know, so I'm quite happy. It's just kind of like a check. I'm quite happy with that being the color, that being the white balance that I'm getting. Go into the color mixer. So the yellows, so I'm inside in saturation. I'm going to just a little bit of saturation to the yellows, not too much. Just a small bit. They're oranges, the reds, and I'm going to go into the lumens of the greens, and I'm just going to lift the greens slightly, maybe the yellows. Yeah. Okay. And that's pretty good. And I think when I posted this on Instagram, I gave it what I call, I have a Pano kind of a crop preset there made. Yeah, so that's it. What this does is it gives me much more detail, you know, rather than just going in and, you know, going wide angle with the, rather than going in and going wide angle with my 20 to 35 lens and using the Pano crop mode. If I make a panorama series of vertical images, I have much more detail inside it. So yeah, really pleased with that. Might even be better than the previous one. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed that. I hope it helps. The PT GUI software is quite expensive. I bought it a couple of years ago. It's about €300 for a license. But once you have it for life. I have tried. You can get great effects also with Lightroom and using their merge to Panorama. The only thing I find is if I'm shooting wide angle, that the PT GUI, it will stitch the wide angle no problem, because I can change the perspective, and that's something I can do in Lightroom. And PT GUI allows me to shoot wide angle basically. You know, I think the bloody software will actually stitch waves. You know, it's that good. It really is very, very good. So yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching.